In this week's Torah portion, Vayishlach, we read that on that night, the night before Jacob was going to meet his brother Esau, Jacob got up and he took his 2 wives and his 2 maidservants and his 11 sons, and he crossed the Yabuk ford. And he took them, and they crossed the river, and he brought across all that he had. And then Jacob was left alone, and that night he wrestled with an Ish until the break of dawn. Jacob wrestled with an Ish at the Yabuk ford, the Yabuk. Ish meaning an angel, which Jacob, according to Rashi, elevates to God, the God self himself. I have seen God's face to face, he says, yet my life has been preserved. And Jacob's attacker confirms with Ki sari im el, you wrestled with God, your name shall be Yisrael. Yisrael, he who wrestles with God. And the Yabuk comes from the Hebrew bet kuf, bak, to wrestle, to struggle. According to Professor Kakovich, seen only once throughout all of Scripture, this one time in our Parsha. Your name shall now be Yisrael, Israel. And as with Abram becoming Abraham, Sarai becoming Sarah, Elie Wiesel taught that a name change parallels a change of perspectives, a taking control of one's fate. That Jacob lived in this duality of the mundane and the celestial. And during the day, Wiesel goes on, Jacob talked only of his business affairs, and at night, and only at night was he able to, in the pitch darkness, he dreamt of a ladder, last week's Parsha, that reached from the earth to the heaven with angels going up and down. At night, Jacob spoke to God of immortality. That night by the Yabuk, a relentless fight with a stranger, Jacob transitions from the shadows of Abraham and Isaac's greatness. And in the teaching of Rav Soloveitchik, he transitions, he evolves, he grows from a covenant of fate to a self-actualized covenant of destiny. Jacob, now Israel is resolute. He will defeat his foes. He will command respect, even the respect of the angels. He will take control of events themselves, take ownership of his life. And as a model, a harbinger for his sacred namesake, his progeny, B'nai Israel, the Jewish people, Israel creates its own destiny. Fast forward 4,000 years, half of which the Jewish people have been shorn of their sovereignty, reduced to a theology of fated powerlessness. Michael Oren, he writes in his book that we fled inward from the realities of the potential of the world around us to the familiar embrace of text and of fantasy. And then, 1948, we take our cue from our great forefather, Yisrael, Israel, with the combined armies of the Arab world staged for an imminent assault on the nascent Jewish state. We take responsibility for ourselves as a people. And then again, we take it in 1967. Rabbi Danny Gordis describes that famous iconic picture by David Rubinger of the Israeli paratroopers at the Western Wall, taken immediately upon the conquest of Jerusalem during the Six-Day War in 1967. It is, he writes, instead of an image of the new Jew that Israel had created, the Jew who could shape his own destiny or her own destiny, rather waiting for it to be shaped by others. This, in fact, is an old notion. This is an original notion that the Jews, we as masters of our own destiny, as defenders of our own lives, is at the deepest core of Bnei Israel. The deepest core of Medinat Yisrael, the Jewish state, the deepest core of being Israel.